Dear listeners, I welcome you to my channel. Leave your comments and impressions, I value your opinion. The grand ballroom of the Hotel Sapphire is bathed in a golden glow, the chandeliers casting twinkling reflections on the polished marble floor. The annual charity gala is in full swing, with the city's elite mingling and sipping champagne from crystal flutes. It's the kind of event where appearances are everything, and tonight, I am about to shatter them. I stand by the entrance, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. Every second feels like an eternity as I scan the room, searching for her. My wife, Emily, is in the center of the crowd, laughing and chatting with her friends, her emerald green dress shimmering under the lights. She looks radiant, the picture of elegance and sophistication. No one would suspect the truth hidden beneath her perfect smile. "Ready?" whispers Jack, my best friend and accomplice in tonight's revelation. He stands beside me, his expression a mix of concern and determination. "Yeah," I reply, my voice barely audible. "Let's do this." We weave through the crowd, our steps purposeful. The room's buzz of conversation quiets slightly as we approach the stage. I feel eyes turning towards us, curiosity piqued by our sudden movement. Jack climbs the steps first, taking the microphone from its stand. He clears his throat, and the room falls silent. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen," he begins, his voice steady and clear. "I apologize for interrupting your night, but there's something that needs to be addressed." The crowd murmurs in confusion, glancing between each other and the stage. Emily's smile falters as she looks up at us, her brow furrowing. She starts to move forward, but I step up to the microphone, stopping her in her tracks. "Emily," I call out, my voice stronger than I expected. "There's something I need to say. Something everyone here needs to hear." Her eyes widen, and she takes a step back, her composure cracking. "What are you doing, Mark?" I take a deep breath, the anger and betrayal I've been holding back surging to the surface. "For the past 6 months, you've been lying to me. You've been seeing someone else behind my back." Gasps ripple through the room, and Emily's face turns ashen. She looks around, seeking support from the friends who now avert their eyes, unwilling to be drawn into our marital conflict. "That's not true," she cries out, her voice shaking. "You don't know what you're talking about." I hold up my phone, the screen displaying a series of incriminating texts and photos. "Oh, but I do. You've been careless, Emily, and now everyone knows." She rushes towards the stage, her heels clicking sharply on the floor. "You vile idiot. You lack the courage to meet me face to face, so you decided to put on this show." Her words hang in the air, filled with venom. The crowd watches, frozen in a mix of horror and fascination. I meet her gaze, my eyes cold and unforgiving. "You left me no choice," I reply. "You broke our vows, our trust. You thought you could get away with it, but now everyone sees you for who you really are." Emily's face contorts with rage and desperation. "You think this humiliates me? It just shows how pathetic you are." She storms off the stage, pushing through the crowd. I watch her go, heart of me aching despite everything. The whispers and murmurs follow her, the scandal spreading like wildfire. Jack puts a hand on my shoulder, squeezing gently. "You did the right thing, Mark. She needed to be exposed." I nod, the adrenaline slowly draining away. "Yeah, I know. But it still hurts." The night continues, but the atmosphere has shifted. The guests avoid looking directly at me, their whispers barely concealed. I feel a strange mix of relief and emptiness. The truth is out, but the cost is high. Weeks pass, and the fallout from that night reverberates through our lives. Emily moves out, and the divorce proceedings begin. The news spreads through our social circles, each retelling more embellished than the last. I try to focus on my work, but the betrayal gnaws at me, a constant reminder of what I've lost. Then, one evening there's a knock on my door. I open it to find Emily standing there, her eyes red from crying, her once proud demeanor shattered. She looks at me, her expression a mix of regret and desperation. "Mark," she says, her voice barely a whisper, "I need your help." I stare at her, memories of our life together flashing through my mind. "What do you want, Emily?" She takes a deep breath, her hands trembling. "I need you to become a donor for my AP. Without it, I won't make it." For a moment, I'm speechless. The woman who betrayed me is now asking for my help, my forgiveness. I feel a bitter laugh rising in my throat, and I can't hold it back. "You must be joking," I say, my voice cold. "After everything you did, You expect me to save you. She falls to her knees, tears streaming down her face. Please, Mark, I'm begging you. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm desperate. I look down at her, the woman who once meant everything to me, now reduced to this. The sight fills me with a twisted sense of satisfaction. I crouch down, lifting her chin so she meets my eyes. Beg all you want, Emily. It changes nothing. You made your bed. Now lie in it. I stand up and close the door, her sobs muffled by the thick wood. As I walk away, a strange sense of finality settles over me. The past is done, and the future is mine to shape. The betrayal has defined us both, but now, it's time to move on. The days following Emily's plea blur into a strange mix of routine and introspection. I throw myself into work, determined to move past the chaos she's caused. But her desperate eyes and her tear-choked voice linger in my thoughts, a ghost I can't quite banish. It's late evening when Jack calls, his voice dragging me back into the turmoil. Mark, we got to talk, he says, urgency lacing his words. Meet me at the usual spot. Now? I glance at the clock, it's nearly 8. This better be important. It is, he insists. Trust me. 15 minutes later, I arrive at Mulligan's, our favorite pub. It's a cozy place, dimly lit with the comforting hum of conversation filling the air. Jack is already seated in a corner booth, a half-empty pint in front of him. Beside him is someone I don't recognize. A tall, imposing man with a serious expression. Mark, this is Detective Harris, Jack says as I slide into the seat across from him. He's got some information you need to hear. Detective Harris nods curtly. Mr. Davis, I understand this is a difficult time for you, but there's something about your wife you need to know. I raise an eyebrow, skepticism creeping in. More than what she's already done. Harris leans forward, lowering his voice. We have reason to believe your wife is involved in more than just an affair. Her actions might be tied to a larger criminal investigation. I blink, taken aback. What are you talking about? He pulls out a folder, laying it on the table between us. Emily has been under surveillance for months. We believe she's connected to a network of illegal activities, possibly embezzlement and fraud. The room feels like it's tilting. I reach for my drink, taking a long gulp. This can't be real. Are you saying she was using me as a cover? Harris' eyes are sympathetic but firm. It's possible. We're still gathering evidence, but we need your cooperation. Jack places a reassuring hand on my arm. Mark, I know this is a lot, but we have to get to the bottom of this. For your sake. I take a deep breath, the weight of this new revelation pressing down on me. What do you need from me? We need access to any information you might have, financial records, emails, anything that could help us build a case, Harris explains. My mind races, piecing together fragments of our life. I have some records at home. I'll get them to you. Harris nods, his expression softening. Thank you, Mr. Davis. We'll be in touch. As Harris leaves, Jack and I sit in silence for a moment, the enormity of the situation sinking in. Finally, Jack speaks. You okay, buddy? I laugh bitterly. Okay. My life's a mess, and now this. How could I have been so blind? Jack shakes his head. You couldn't have known. Emily's good at hiding things. I drain my drink, setting the glass down with a thud. Well, no more. If she's involved in something illegal, she won't get away with it. The next few days are a whirlwind of activity. I dig through files, emails, and bank statements. Anything that might help the investigation. I hand everything over to Harris, hoping to find some clarity in the chaos. But instead, more questions arise. One evening, as I'm sorting through another pile of documents, my phone rings. It's Sarah, my younger sister. Hey, Mark. Just checking in. How are you holding up? I sigh, rubbing my temples. It's been rough. Found out Emily might be involved in some serious stuff. Sarah's voice sharpens. What do you mean? I explain everything, the affair, the investigation, the potential criminal activities. She listens in silence, her concern palpable even through the phone. Mark, you need to take care of yourself, she says finally. Don't let her drag you down any further. I know, I reply, but it's hard. There's so much I didn't see. Sarah pauses. Look, why have you come over for dinner tomorrow? Get away from all this for a bit. You need a break. I hesitate, the idea of a normal evening feeling foreign. Yeah, baby, I will. Thanks, Sarah. The next day, I drive to Sarah's place, a modest house on the outskirts of town. Her husband, Tom, greets me at the door, his usual easygoing smile replaced with a concerned frown. Hey, Mark. Good to see you. Thanks, Tom, I say, stepping inside. The smell of roasting chicken fills the air, a welcome comfort after days of stress. Sarah hugs me tightly. Come on, dinner's almost ready. We sit around the table, the familiar chatter of family life a balm to my frayed nerves. Tom and Sarah's kids, Lily and Ben, chatter excitedly about their school projects, their innocence a stark contrast to the chaos in my life. As we eat, Sarah turns to me, her expression serious. Mark, I've been thinking. Maybe you should talk to Emily again, see if you can get her to open up. I frown. Why would she tell me anything? Because she needs you, Sarah replies. If she's desperate enough to ask for your help, she might be willing to make a deal. The thought lingers with me as I drive home. Could Emily be persuaded to come clean? It's a slim chance, but maybe it's worth trying. I decide to confront her one last time. The next morning I call her. Emily, we need to talk. Her voice is wary. What do you want, Mark? Meet me at the park by our old house. Noon. We need to clear some things up. She hesitates, then agrees. Fine, I'll be there. At noon, I arrive at the park, the memories of happier times haunting me. Emily shows up a few minutes later, looking haggard and worn. The confident woman I once knew is gone, replaced by someone I barely recognize. Mark, she says quietly. What is this about? I take a deep breath, steeling myself. I know about the investigation, Emily. The police are on to you. If you want any chance of getting out of this, you need to come clean. Her eyes widen, fear flashing across her face. What do you mean? Don't play dumb, I snap. I know you're involved in something illegal. Tell me the truth, and maybe I can help you. She looks around, as if the trees might be listening. I can't. It's too dangerous. Emily, you're already in danger, I insist. The only way out is to cooperate. She sinks onto a bench, burying her face in her hands. I never wanted this, Mark. I got in too deep. I didn't know how to get out. I sit beside her, the anger giving way to a strange pity. Then let me help you. Tell the police everything. It's the only way. She looks at me, tears streaming down her face. Okay, I'll do it. But you have to promise you'll be there for me. I hesitate, the weight of her request pressing down on me. I'll help you, but we're done, Emily. Our marriage is over. She nods, accepting the finality of my words. I understand. Thank you, Mark. As we part ways, I feel a strange sense of closure. The road ahead is uncertain, but for the first time in months, I feel like I have a path forward. Emily will face the consequences of her actions, and I will start to rebuild my life, piece by piece. The storm is far from over, but at least now, I can see the horizon. The days following my meeting with Emily pass in a blur of tension and anticipation. True to her word, she contacts Detective Harris and agrees to cooperate. It's a small victory, but one that feels monumental in the midst of all the chaos. Early one morning, Harris calls me. Mark, we've arranged a meeting with Emily to go over her statement. We need you to be there for support and to verify any details she might provide. All right, I agree. My voice steady despite the nerves fluttering in my stomach. When and where? Tomorrow at 10 a.m., at the precinct. The rest of the day, I'm a bundle of nerves. I go through the motions at work, but my mind is elsewhere. That night, sleep eludes me, and I find myself pacing the living room, trying to calm my racing thoughts. Emily's involvement in something so sinister still feels surreal, like a nightmare I can't wake from. The next morning, I arrive at the precinct, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. Detective Harris greets me with a nod, his expression grave. Morning, Mark. Emily's already here. I follow him to an interrogation room, where Emily sits, looking more fragile than ever. She glances up as I enter, her eyes filled with a mix of fear and gratitude. Thank you for coming, she whispers. I nod, taking a seat beside her. Harris sits across from us, flipping open a folder filled with notes and documents. All right, Emily, he begins, his tone professional but not unkind. We need you to start from the beginning. Tell us everything. She takes a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly. It all started about a year ago. I met someone at one of the charity events. He introduced himself as Lucas Evans, a businessman looking to invest in local projects. We began talking, and he seemed genuinely interested in my work. It wasn't long before we started seeing each other regularly. I stiffen at the mention of his name, the betrayal cutting deep. Harris notices and gives me a brief, understanding nod. Go on, he prompts Emily. Lucas convinced me to get involved in some of his business ventures, she continues. At first, it seemed legitimate, just investments and charity work. But soon he started asking for favors. Small things, like transferring money between accounts, keeping certain documents for him. I didn't think much of it at the time. Did you know these transactions were illegal? Harris asks, his pen poised over his notepad. At first, no, she admits, her voice trembling. But as time went on, things started to feel off. I confronted him about it, and he assured me everything was above board. But then I found out about the embezzlement and fraud. By then, it was too late. I was in too deep. Harris leans back, his eyes narrowing. Why didn't you come forward sooner? Emily's eyes fill with tears. I was scared. Lucas made it clear that if I tried to leave or go to the authorities, he'd ruin me. He has connections, people who can make problems disappear. I didn't know what to do. And what changed now? I ask, my voice softer than I intend. She looks at me, her expression a mix of regret and desperation. When you exposed me at the gala, it was a wake-up call. I realized I couldn't keep living this lie. I had to come clean no matter the cost. Harris nods, jotting down notes. We'll need you to provide all the details you have on Lucas and his operations. This is crucial for our investigation. Emily agrees, and for the next few hours she goes over everything in painstaking detail. By the time we're done, I feel emotionally drained, but a small part of me is relieved. Finally, the truth is out in the open. As we leave the precinct, Emily turns to me. Mark, I know I've hurt you in ways I can never make up for. But thank you for helping me do the right thing. I nod, the anger I once felt towards her slowly giving way to a weary acceptance. I hope you find a way to move forward, Emily. We both need to. The following weeks are a whirlwind of legal proceedings and media frenzy. The news of Emily's involvement in a criminal network hits the headlines, and our lives become fodder for public speculation. Through it all, I try to maintain some semblance of normalcy, focusing on work and leaning on friends and family for support. One evening, Jack and I are having a drink at Mulligan's, our usual spot. The pub is quieter than usual, the dim lighting providing a welcome respite from the outside world. How are you holding up? Jack asks, concern etched on his face. I shrug, taking a sip of my beer. As well as can be expected, I guess. It's been a rough ride, but I'm managing. Jack nods, his eyes thoughtful. You know, you've been incredibly strong through all this. Most people would have crumbled under the pressure. I smile faintly. I don't feel strong, Jack. Just tired. He claps a hand on my shoulder. Well, for what it's worth, I'm proud of you. You did the right thing. Just then, my phone buzzes. I glance at the screen to see an unknown number. Hesitating for a moment, I answer. Hello. Mr. Davis, this is Detective Harris. We had a breakthrough in the case. Can you come down to the precinct? My heart skips a beat. I'll be right there. I turn to Jack, who's watching me with a raised eyebrow. Something's happened. I need to get to the precinct. Want me to come with you? He asks. I shake my head. No, it's all right. I'll handle it. The drive to the precinct feels like an eternity. When I arrive, Harris meets me at the entrance, his expression grave but determined. Mark, we've managed to arrest Lucas Evans. We raided one of his properties this morning and found substantial evidence linking him to the crimes Emily mentioned. Relief washes over me. That's great news. What happens now? Now we proceed with the charges. Lucas is facing a long list of offenses, and with Emily's testimony, we have a strong case against him. As Harris explains the next steps, I can't help but feel a sense of closure. The man who manipulated and destroyed so much of my life is finally being brought to justice. In the following weeks, the case against Lucas Evans builds momentum. Emily's cooperation proves invaluable, and despite the public scrutiny, she stands by her decision to testify. The trial is set to begin, and the media frenzy reaches new heights. One day, as I'm leaving work, I receive a call from Sarah. Mark, I just heard. Lucas is trying to cut a deal. He's willing to give up names of other people involved in exchange for a reduced sentence. Are you serious? I ask, stunned. Yes, and it sounds like the authorities are considering it. This could be bigger than we thought. As I process this new development, I realize that the end of Lucas Evans might just be the beginning of uncovering something far more extensive. The pieces of the puzzle are falling into place, but the full picture is yet to be revealed. I drive home, my mind racing with the possibilities. The fight isn't over, but for the first time, I feel a glimmer of hope. The truth is coming to light, and with it, the chance for a new beginning. As I pull into my driveway, I take a deep breath. The weight of the past months finally starting to lift. The road ahead is uncertain, but I'm ready to face whatever comes next. The battle for justice has only just begun, and I'm determined to see it through to the end. The days leading up to Lucas Evans' trial are tense and charged with anticipation. Emily and I have a few brief conversations, mostly logistical, as she prepares to testify. We both know that her testimony could be the key to bringing down Lucas and his network. Despite everything, I feel a strange sense of solidarity with her. We're both trapped in this whirlwind, trying to claw our way out. The morning of the trial, the courthouse buzzes with media and onlookers. I arrive early, slipping past the crowd and into the courtroom. Emily is already there, sitting with her lawyer, her face pale but resolute. She glances at me, and for a moment, there's a silent acknowledgement of what we've endured. Detective Harris joins us, his demeanor calm and professional. "Morning, Mark. You ready for this?" "As ready as I'll ever be," I reply, trying to steady my nerves. The trial begins, and the prosecution lays out its case with meticulous detail. Emily takes the stand, her testimony clear and unwavering. She recounts her involvement with Lucas, the illegal activities she unwittingly became part of, and the threats he made to keep her silent. I watch, a mix of pride and sorrow swelling in my chest. Despite everything, she's doing the right thing. As Emily steps down, I catch her eye and nod. She gives me a small, grateful smile before returning to her seat. The defense tries to discredit her, but the evidence is overwhelming. It seems like we have a solid case. Then, just as the prosecution is about to rest, Lucas's lawyer stands up, a smug smile on his face. "Your Honor, we have one more witness to call, a surprise witness." The courtroom murmurs in confusion as a man steps forward. My heart stops when I recognize him, Jack. My best friend. My confidant through all of this. What the hell is he doing here? "Jack, what's going on?" I whisper, but he avoids my gaze. The judge allows the witness, and Jack takes the stand. He looks around the courtroom, his expression unreadable. "I have information that could change the course of this trial," he begins. As Jack speaks, the truth unravels in a way I never anticipated. He admits to working with Lucas, helping him launder money through various businesses, including some of the charity events Emily organized. He reveals how he manipulated situations, keeping me in the dark while he operated in the shadows. The betrayal cuts deeper than anything I've experienced. The one person I trusted completely was part of this nightmare all along. "Jack, why?" I shout, unable to contain my anger. He looks at me, genuine regret in his eyes. "I never wanted to hurt you, Mark. It got out of hand. I thought I could control it, but it spiraled." The courtroom erupts in chaos, the judge banging his gavel for order. As the trial continues, it becomes clear that Jack's testimony, while damning, also implicates himself. He's trying to cut a deal, offering up Lucas and the entire network to save his own skin. Lucas, sensing the shift, grows visibly agitated. He stands up, shouting at Jack. "You traitor. You think you can save yourself by throwing me under the bus?" The judge orders Lucas to be restrained, but the outburst only solidifies his guilt. The jury looks on, their decision becoming increasingly clear. The defense's attempt to use Jack backfires spectacularly. In the end, Lucas is found guilty on multiple counts of fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. Jack, too, faces charges for his role in the crimes. As the sentences are handed down, I feel a strange mix of vindication and loss. Justice is served, but the cost is steep. Outside the courthouse, Emily approaches me, her expression tentative. "Mark, I don't know what to say." I look at her, the weight of everything settling in. "It's over, Emily. We can finally move on." She nods, tears welling in her eyes. "Thank you for standing by me, even when I didn't deserve it." I give her a small, sad smile. We both made mistakes. Let's just try to live better from now on. As Emily walks away, I stand there, the crowd thinning around me. The media buzzes, capturing the end of a scandal that rocked our lives. But for me, it's the beginning of a new chapter. Months pass and life slowly begins to regain a semblance of normalcy. The trial's fallout lingers, but I find solace in the small victories, rebuilding my career, reconnecting with my family, and finding new purpose. One day, as I sit in my favorite coffee shop, reflecting on the journey, I receive a text from an unknown number. Meet me at Mulligan's. There's something you need to know. My heart races, but curiosity gets the better of me. I head to Mulligan's, the familiar atmosphere both comforting and foreboding. As I enter, I see Jack's sister Claire sitting in our usual booth. She looks up, her expression serious. Claire, I greet her, taking a seat. What's this about? She takes a deep breath, sliding a folder across the table. Jack wanted me to give this to you. It's everything he gathered on Lucas and the network. He hoped it might help you find some closure. I open the folder, scanning the documents. It's a treasure trove of information, names, dates, transactions. A detailed account of everything Lucas and his associates did. As I read, pieces start falling into place. There's more to this than I realized. Why now? I ask, looking up at Claire. He regretted his actions, Mark. He wanted to make things right, even if it was too late for him. I nod, the weight of the folder in my hands. Thank you, Claire. This means more than you know. As she leaves, I sit there, contemplating my next move. The battle might be over, but the war for justice continues. With this new information, I have the chance to uncover even more truths and bring more people to justice. The sun sets, casting a warm glow over the city. I step out of Mulligan's, the folder clutched tightly. The path ahead is uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, I feel ready to face it. Life is unpredictable, filled with twists and turns we never see coming. But in the end, it's our choices, our resilience, and our determination that define us. As I walk into the future, I carry with me the lessons of the past, ready to forge a new beginning.